Welcome back to our channel, everyone. Grab your coffee, settle in, and let us dive into the deep end of the drama for the week of August 17th through the 21st. There is a fascinating psychological phenomenon happening right now in this town. We have a canvas full of characters who are entirely convinced they are the ones pulling the strings. But if you ask me, the most dangerous position to be in is believing you have the upper hand when you are actually standing on a trapdoor. We always assume the loudest person in the room holds the power, but the real danger comes from the people playing dead. Everyone thinks they are the hunter this week, but almost all of them are actually the prey. We are looking at a masterful display of two-faced games, where the line between the hunter and the hunted is not just blurred, it is completely inverted. Let us start with Jocelyn. She has been riding this incredible high ever since her brutal takedown of Ross on the island. Z has been filling her head with grand visions of her future in the intelligence agency, and honestly, it has made her dangerously overconfident. She is currently investigating Hudson, trying to figure out exactly who this mysterious businessman is and what he truly wants. Jocelyn is likely going to play the innocent, interested party to get close to Hudson and gather intel. She thinks she can bat her eyelashes and play the spy. But this is where it gets interesting. I highly suspect Hudson is already 10 steps ahead of her. He is not some amateur who just stumbled into town. He is a calculated executive who probably recognized her tactics the moment she deployed them. What if Hudson is intentionally letting Jocelyn get close? By allowing her to think she is successfully infiltrating his inner circle, he can feed her false information and figure out exactly how much the agency knows about. Jocelyn thinks she is reeling him in, but the deeper she goes into this undercover act, the more she risks becoming a pawn in a very dangerous game. She is playing with fire, and she does not even realize she is standing in a pool of gasoline. Then we have Michael, a man who is currently drowning in a sea of family chaos and personal grief. Between Willow dealing with the aftermath of being drugged by Jacinda and the ongoing corporate warfare, Michael is incredibly vulnerable right now. Enter Serena. She has returned to town to back up Lucy in the power struggle, but I think her sights are set on something much bigger. Michael and his newly acquired shares. Serena could easily play the sympathetic ear, making Michael believe that she genuinely supports him and understands his pain. Grief is a blinding emotion, and Michael might just fall right into her trap, thinking he has found a loyal ally. However, we have to remember who Michael is. He has a history of being manipulated by women, just look at his past with Nell, but he is still a ruthless businessman when pushed. If Serena pushes too hard or slips up, Michael will realize that her compassion is just a Trojan horse for a corporate takeover. If he figures out her true motives, the backlash will be catastrophic. Serena thinks she is manipulating a wounded animal, but she might just wake up the apex predator. The pain Michael is feeling could easily be weaponized, turning him into a force Serena cannot control. Speaking of predators, we need to talk about Jack. He has firmly positioned himself as the ultimate protector for Nina and Willow, promising to shield them from Drew and his blackmail. But Jack stepping into the role of the White Knight is bound to ruffle some serious feathers, specifically with Mike. Michael is fiercely protective of his family, and having a former intelligence director suddenly acting as the guardian of his wife is going to trigger his territorial instinct. I suspect Jack will not just be playing defense. He is going to get pulled into a massive clash of egos with Michael. If Jack pushes too hard to protect Willow, Michael is going to view him not as a savior, but as a direct threat to his own authority. This could open up an entirely new psychological mind game between the two men. Jack is calculated and cold, having faked his medical condition for months, while Michael is strategic and fiercely loyal. It is a chess match waiting to happen, and Willow is unknowingly the prize in the center of the board. Neither man is going to back down, and their battle for dominance could destroy the very people they are trying to protect. Now, let us pivot to this upcoming auction involving Sunny, Valentin, and Drew. On the surface, this looks like a classic billionaire measuring contest. Three wealthy, powerful men throwing money around to assert dominance. But I am looking at the underlying dynamics, and I do not buy it for a second. If you ask me, this auction is nothing more than a smokescreen. I strongly suspect that one of these men is using the event as a front to acquire something far more valuable than whatever is officially on the auction block. My money is on Valentine. We know he has been desperately trying to decode the mysteries of that black box he found, and he is a master of misdirection. Valentine is likely playing a completely separate game, orchestrating moves in the shadows while Sunny and Drew are distracted by the bidding war. He wants them focused on the money and the ego, so they do not see his true objective until it is far too late. Valentine thrives in the blind spots of his enemies, and this auction is the perfect distraction for him to secure his leverage against Jack and the agency. Let us talk about Sunny and Jason. For weeks, we have watched Jason try to pull away from the criminal underworld to prioritize Dan. We have seen Sunny try to legitimize his power and protect his family. They both want a clean break, or at least a cleaner version of their lives. But the past has a funny way of refusing to stay buried. Instead of things progressing smoothly toward their new goals, I think the gravity of their history is going to pull them right back into the dark. Sunny is desperate to protect his territory, fueled by the lingering trauma of losing Morgan, and Jason is going to realize that walking away from a lifetime of violence is not as simple as making a declaration. The ghosts of their past decisions are circling, and I have a feeling a new, impossible choice is going to force them both to reevaluate their future. You can leave the life, but the life rarely leaves you. I have to play devil's advocate with myself for a second here. Maybe Jason really does hold his ground and refuses to help Sunny. If he does, that rejection might be the catalyst that finally breaks their bond forever. But knowing these two, loyalty usually trumps logic, and they will likely be dragged back into the mud together. Meanwhile, Drew is fighting his own battles, not just with his physical recovery, but with his daughter. Scout is reaching that rebellious teenage phase, and she is incredibly perceptive. She knows Drew is trying to control the narrative, and I suspect she is going to actively push back against his boundaries. Scout is going to seek out the people she actually trusts. And that leads us to Rocco. Rocco is dealing with the immense guilt and trauma of shooting Ross to protect Jason. If Scout and Rocco start spending more time together, they could form a very quiet but incredibly significant mini-alliance. Two teenagers, both burdened by the dark secrets of their fathers, finding solace in each other. It is poetic, really. Drew is desperately trying to regain control of his body and his life, while completely losing control of his daughter. Scout is breaking the rules, actively defying the limits Drew sets, and Rocco is the perfect partner in crime. They are forming a bond built on the shared trauma of having complicated, dangerous fathers. Over at the police station, Harrison is diving deep into the hit-and-run investigation. We know Brooklyn is the guilty party, and we know she is terrified of losing her husband. I suspect the investigation is going to take a very unexpected turn. Instead of Harrison immediately finding the smoking gun that points to his wife, Brooklyn is going to go into overdrive trying to throw him off the scent. She will actively try to misdirect his attention, planting false leads or creating distractions to keep him focused on Willow or anyone else. But here is the tragic irony. The harder she tries to hide her tracks, the more new evidence she is going to leave behind. Brooklyn is not a seasoned criminal. She is a panicked wife making impulsive decisions. And I think it is going to be one tiny, seemingly insignificant detail that finally makes Harrison stop and look at her differently. A slip of the tongue, a misplaced item, a timeline that does not add up. Harrison is a brilliant detective who values the truth above all else, and once that seed of doubt is planted, he will not be able to stop himself from pulling the thread, even if it unravels his entire marriage. Finally, we have to look at Trina and Kai. Trina is riding high on her new music contract, trying to stay out of the family drama and focus on her career. But there is a stalker lurking in the shadow. Everyone naturally assumes that Trina is the primary target because of her rising fame and public profile. But I am looking at the clues, and I suspect the stalker has absolutely no interest in harming Trina first. The real target is Kai. Kai knows too much about Drew recovering his mobility, and he knows Willow cannot be trusted. He is a loose end in a very dangerous corporate and personal war. Trina is just accidentally standing in the crossfire. If Kai ends up in serious danger, Trina is not the type of person to just run and hide. She will feel compelled to investigate the person following. And in doing so, she is going to stumble upon a secret that is far bigger and far more dangerous than a simple obsessed fan. Trina is about to peel back a layer of this town's corruption that she was never meant to see, and it is going to change everything for her. If you look at the board for this upcoming week, the central theme is overwhelmingly clear. Every single character is playing a two-faced game. Michael thinks he is managing his empire and his grief, but Serena might be managing him. Jocelyn believes she is interrogating Hudson, but Hudson is likely studying her every move. Scout is waging a silent war against Drew, while Harrison inches painfully closer to the devastating truth about Brooklyn. It is these massive reversals of fortune that make this show so incredibly addictive. The person who thinks they are the hunter is actually the prey, and the person who thinks they hold all the power is the one who is about to lose absolutely everything. The trap is set, guys. The only question now is, who is going to trigger it first?
Goodbye. Please like, subscribe, and comment on the GH Spoilers Daily channel.